Tonight, Ottawa's worst commutes put to the test.
If I'm really in a rush and if time is really pressing, I'll try to squeeze on.
CTV Ottawa reporters riding the rails and hopping the buses with your suggestions about the brutal lengths of time it takes you to go between work and home. Escalating conflict with potential for Canadians to pay the price as consumers.
It's not as bad as it's going to get. Let's put it that way, given the fact that the political situation in the Middle East.
Lives lost overseas and livelihoods impacted here, with the world fearing what's to come with a raging war between U.S., Israel, and Iran. Plus, grievances against the government.
Why are you creating something new that's going to impact them when in the collective agreement you have something that's clear and transparent?
The federal union files a claim suggesting early retirement and pension incentives tries to bypass the collective agreement. Good evening, everyone. Patricia is away. We begin tonight with the developing news out of the Middle East. The U.S. and Israel are targeting Iran for the third straight day, and Iran is responding by lobbing hundreds of missiles at Arab states and U.S. bases. U.S. President Donald Trump is warning bigger strikes will come, and the assault will go on as long as it takes.
Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning.
Trump says the operation could last 4 or 5 weeks. As of tonight, 6 U.S. soldiers have been killed, while Iran's Red Crescent says hundreds in that country were killed by strikes. Iranians are now fleeing the country to Turkey. CTV's Adrian Gobriel is in Turkey with the latest on the conflict.
Unrelenting and punishing, just 3 days into this U.S.-Israeli-led military campaign against Iran, and the number of countries being pulled into this war is growing. Blasts echoed across Beirut today. Israel's military confirming it struck Hezbollah targets in Lebanon after the Iranian-backed group says it launched rockets and drones of their own into the Israeli city of Haifa. Visiting the site of a missile strike on a synagogue west of Jerusalem, where at least 9 people were killed, Israel's prime minister says he warned the world that Iran was capable of attacking Western allies.
I stand here in a place that was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians. You see the difference. The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians.
Though inside Iran, Red Crescent workers there say more than 500 people have been killed, including children, who died here following an airstrike that struck a school. In the early morning hours, multiple flashes can be seen in the sky as a drone strike hits a British Royal Air Force base in Cyprus. This coming just as the U.S. has been granted permission to use British military bases for defensive strikes on Iranian missile sites. In Kuwait, a U.S. fighter jet is seen spiraling to the ground, one of 3 American F-15s shot out of the sky following a friendly fire incident. An oil refinery in Saudi Arabia was shut down today after it was hit by an Iranian drone. Iran's newly formed Leadership Council says it won't negotiate with the U.S. administration as the war widens its reach.
But this is war.
Istanbul University political science professor Kivak Yusaloy says many in the region are still waiting for Israel and the United States to present a credible case for setting off this war with Iran.
Turkish government nowadays does not want to be seen as siding with Israel in an attack against Iran, an unjustified attack, by the way. A lack of public diplomacy in all senses, from the side of U.S. and from the side of Israel.
Well over 1,000 targets have been hit across Iran. Israel has argued that this was a preemptive attack. The only certainty, this full-scale war is escalating at an alarming rate.
Here in Turkey, President Tayyip Erdogan has called the attacks on Iran a clear violation of international law. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Istanbul.
Stay with CTV News for continuing coverage of the war in Iran. For updates on radio, tune in to News Talk 580 CFRA and CTV News Channel at any hour.
Still ahead, the cost of conflict. We'll tell you what you should expect to pay at gas stations this week as the current situation between the U.S., Israel, and Iran fuels a price hike.
We begin a new series tonight looking at the challenges Ottawa transit users are facing with the wait times, buses and trains. We asked you to send us your worst commutes, and a flood of responses created gridlock in our inbox. Tonight and every night this week, we're going to show you a snapshot of some of the worst commutes across the capital. This commute is a 4-stage morning rush hour journey with a rider from Hunt Club to Gatineau. OC Transpo's number 90 to Greenboro, LRT Line 2 South to Line 1 heading downtown, and an STO bus to cross the river to Gatineau. Lots of transfers and plenty of risk for a commuter making connections. CTV's Leah LaRocque joins us now. How was this commute, Leah?
Well, Stefan Dongno doesn't have a car. In fact, he and his fiancée actually bought a house close to the South Keys Transit Hub, thinking it would make getting places easier. But I tagged along from a trip from Cahill Drive near the Hunt Club area all the way to Rue Montcalm in Gatineau to see exactly where the system is falling short.
A Monday morning commute comes with a lot of unknowns for Dongno.
Particularly in January, where there are more bus cancellations, sometimes it's 45 minutes on the best end, or on the worst end, it's more like an hour and 20 or 1:30.
The federal public servant travels from Hunt Club to Gatineau. And from the time he steps out of the door just past 7:30, questions about if the bus will arrive on time.
It's supposed to come at 7:40.
Okay.
At least according to the app.
Or at all.
7:40.
So it came on time. Yeah. I hopped aboard the 90 Greenboro.
Route 90 Greenboro.
20. To see for myself what his commute is like. The bus ride to South Keys takes about 8 minutes. At 7:48, we get to South Keys Station. It's a major transfer point. The 98 Herman rolls up, but it's packed. So Don decides to catch line 2 instead.
If I'm really in a rush and if time is really pressing, I'll try to squeeze on. But if not, sometimes line 2 both is more consistent, and I can at least sit. We are at 7:50.
A northbound train pulls up. There's lots of room, but at pressure points like Carleton University, it can get a bit crowded. 20 minutes later, we're at Bayview Station. It's time to get off this train.
So we're about halfway through our journey, but because all of these people now have to transfer onto line 1 and it's single car service, things could get pretty tight.
A long line grows on the Confederation platform eastbound. Everyone is hoping to get in.
It's kind of the calculation right there that I kind of make mentally is that, if I just let the first one go, I can be first in line, amongst the first ones in line for the next train.
But when the next one comes 3 minutes later, it's even busier. So we wait again. Third time's a charm. This train has lots of room. We get off at Parliament Station at 8:28, and it's time to transfer to Gatineau's transit service. But this is where I run into a problem.
STO buses do not accept the tap for your debit card, which is what I was using for this commute. I didn't bring any cash with me, and I don't have a monthly pass, so we had to get off the STO bus, and now we're going to go try to find a bank.
A quick pit stop at an ATM, and by 8:52, we are back on the bus. 9:03, 2 buses and 2 trains later, Dong is about a block from his office. In total, our commute was about 1 hour and 31 minutes. Dong now has to work, and then he gets to do that whole trip again, all the way home tonight.
What's your message to OC Transpo to make the service better?
Well, I think more direct buses into downtown from the suburbs, more frequent buses. I think that's the biggest thing.
It is important to note that No made some choices along the way that added a few minutes to his time. He chose to wait for a seat. He took a train, not a busy bus. He decided not to force into a squeezed single-car train. But my takeaway from this experience is that there is a lot of mental math that everyone does every day just to use the system. Stefan.
CTV's Leah LaRocque reporting live for us tonight. Thank you, Leah. We are still collecting your stories of Ottawa's worst commute. Many of you have described journeys that take 90 minutes, 2 hours, or even longer than that. We have a list of those stories on our website, ctvnewsottawa.ca. A pedestrian is in hospital with serious injuries after she became trapped underneath a bus in Centretown. This happened around 12:15 this afternoon near the intersection of Gladstone Avenue and Elgin Street. Paramedics say the woman's legs were trapped under the middle wheels of an articulated bus. Emergency crews managed to lift the bus and free her. She was taken to hospital in serious but stable condition. Her injuries are not considered life-threatening. OC Transpo says it's investigating how this happened. A section of Elgin Street was closed in the area earlier today, but has since reopened. Here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. It is -8 out there right now. And now with the first check on weather, here's Jackie Perez. I'd like to call that a cotton candy sky, Jackie.
It is gorgeous for this evening, Stefan, and quite the difference that we saw temperature-wise compared to this morning where we saw wind chill values closer to -30. It has warmed up, but not by that much. We are still under freezing mark, -8 for here in Ottawa, really for most of eastern Ontario, slightly warmer in the valley where Petawawa is around -5 degrees. But the good news is we are going to be warming up tomorrow and into the rest of the week. So we just got to get through it this evening. -14 around the midnight hour, feeling more like -20. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be another chilly start to the day with the wind chill. It's going to feel like -24. We are getting to a daytime high of about 1 degree, and this won't be until the late afternoon. And from there on, we will likely see warmer days ahead of us, at least for this week. For tomorrow night to Tuesday, conditions-wise, a lot of the precipitation is going to be focused just south of Kingston and Brockville, so we're in for some dry conditions as well. The overnight conditions going to be about -15 with some clear skies. We will have a closer look at your forecast in just a bit. Stefan.
Thank you, Jackie. Now to the latest on job cuts within the federal public service. Canada's largest public sector union is calling on the government to stop its early retirement incentive for employees, alleging it circumvents collective agreements. CTV's Katie Griffin is here with the details. Katie.
Stefan, the Public Service Alliance of Canada has now filed an official complaint saying the program should be halted until specifics can be negotiated. The grievance was filed with the Federal Public Sector Labor Relations and Employment Board. The union says the government rushed the program and didn't properly explain workforce adjustment rights. It says the offer circumvents key obligations under their collective agreements, and while the union doesn't oppose early retirement options to prevent layoffs, its president says any policy needs to be negotiated.
No one knows what that means, how it's going to impact people. No one has seen any wording on it. And so why are you creating something new that's going to impact them when in the collective agreement you have something that's clear and transparent that has been mutually agreed on by the employer and the union? So that's really the issue here.
In December, approximately 68,000 early retirement notices were issued to federal public service workers, the union calling for a pause. Now, according to the government's own website, the program still isn't available because the full budget hasn't received royal assent yet. Once it does, people will have to apply within 120 days, and if they're approved, they'll have to retire within about 10 months. Stefan.
CTV's Katie Griffin reporting live for us tonight. Thank you, Katie.
Welcome.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has wrapped up his trip to India after he and India's Prime Minister pledged to sign an economic partnership agreement by the end of the year. The trip is being described as a diplomatic breakthrough, but questions of Indian interference in Canada aren't going away. Here's Abigail Beeman.
Prime Ministers Mark Carney and Narendra Modi launch a new phase of the Canada-India relationship, and Carney invited Modi to visit Canada.
There has been more engagement between the Canadian and Indian governments in the last year than there has been in more than 2 decades combined.
We will turn ideas into global solutions.
announcing 5 memorandums of understanding on energy and AI and 10 commercial deals, including a highly anticipated $2.6 billion deal to sell uranium from Saskatchewan to India.
It's going to be good for the electricity outbuild here in India, as well as good for the economy and good for, in particular, northern Saskatchewan and Canada, I would say, as well.
The pair committed to finalizing a new broad trade deal by the end of the year.
Business loves certainty, and particularly at a time like this where uncertainty is rampant, trade agreements give us some confidence that we can invest in each other's countries.
Carney has not taken any questions since a government official suggested Wednesday India was no longer actively carrying out foreign interference or transnational repression and canceled the first media availability of the trip today, blaming scheduling. The Foreign Affairs Minister for the first time gave a clearer assessment of the comments.
The words of the senior official are not words that I personally would use. I agree with his comments relating to the guardrails that we have in place.
But the bilateral relationship has become so warm, Canada welcomed Indian government officials, including the High Commissioner, onto the Prime Minister's plane from Mumbai to New Delhi. Carney's office said Modi accepted the invitation, but there's no timeline for a visit to Canada. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, New Delhi.
In the meantime, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is in London meeting with British political and business leaders. Poilievre says his trip is aimed at deepening trade and security ties between the UK and Canada. He's also attending a reception for an international body promoting closer ties on trade, migration and foreign policy between Canada, Australia, New Zealand and the UK. Poilievre is also set to travel to Germany later this week. We have breaking news right now. Algonquin College's Board of Governors has just voted to suspend dozens of programs as the college tries to cope with a financial crisis largely caused by plummeting international student enrollment. CTV's Austin Lee is live in studio with the latest. Austin.
Well, Stefan, Algonquin College's Board of Directors, they met virtually just moments ago and they voted to suspend 30 programs at the post-secondary institution. Here's a look at some of the programs that the board voted to suspend today. They include journalism, hospitality, business development and sales, manufacturing, engineering, technician, music, media and film foundations, paralegal, and 2 horticultural programs as well. Now, some of the impacted programs will still be offered at some other Algonquin College campuses. Students currently enrolled in, will still be able to complete their studies, but no new students will be admitted to those 30 impacted programs starting in the fall. Algonquin's president says the college is facing immense financial pressure because of the federal government's cap on international students. Now, this vote was delayed after the Ontario government announced billions in funding and a tuition freeze, but still Algonquin says that was not enough to secure long-term stability for the college. And last year, Algonquin cut 37 academic programs. It also put its Perth campus up for sale. Stefan.
CTV's Austin Lee reporting live for us tonight. Thank you for this breaking news update. CTV Ottawa has extended coverage of the latest program cuts at Algonquin, including a full list of the programs on the chopping block. There are more stories online at ctvnewsottawa.ca. The Ottawa Police Service says it will not be participating in the federal government's gun buyback program. The program opened in mid-January. It gives owners of banned firearms the option to declare interest in receiving compensation for turning over eligible guns to police or deactivating them. Participation by municipal and provincial police services is voluntary. The OPP, Kingston Police and Toronto Police also declined to participate. A teenager is facing charges after a child was allegedly sexually assaulted at an Eastern Ontario daycare. Ontario Provincial Police launched an investigation last week after receiving a report a child had been sexually assaulted by a youth at a daycare in Trenton. A 14-year-old is now facing charges of invitation to sexual touching, sexual interference, and sexual assault on a person under 16. Police have not named the daycare. The accused cannot be identified under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. An 82-year-old Pembroke man is dead after he was struck by a vehicle on Highway 401 in Quinte West yesterday morning. According to OPP, a vehicle stopped in a live lane of traffic with a flat tire. This happened on the westbound lanes around 7:30 a.m. Police say a passenger got out of the car and was struck by another vehicle. He was brought to hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Anyone with information or dash cam footage is asked to contact the Quinte West OPP or Crime Stoppers. We'll tell you what they want, what they really want, and the Spice Girls want a name change, not for their own group, but rather the literal spice brand created by a young Ottawa entrepreneur. She is being forced to change the name of her company after lawyers for the 90s British girl group threatened to sue her for trademark infringement. 22-year-old Lily Bond started her own line of food seasonings called Spice Girls 9 years ago. To differentiate her brand from the group, Bond replaced the I in spice with a Y and put a Z at the end of girls. Her trademark was approved in October 2023, but less than 3 months after getting federal approval, the Spice Girls made it clear they wanted it changed.
A new name is coming soon. You can take the name, but you can't take the vision or the soul of the company. I was seeing all this innovation happening.
Bond says she can't afford to hire a lawyer to take on the pop group. She also has to get rid of 10,000 packages of Spice Girls seasonings before she can relaunch under a new name.
But the cabs are very stressful because they overload them and then it's difficult.
Just ahead, we continue our series on Ottawa's worst commute with a look at how long it takes to get across the city using Para Transpo. Jackie.
Well, thanks so much, Stefan. It was a chilly start to the day. A cold warning issued for most of the region this morning, but it has since cleared and it's warmed up. But we are in for at least one more brisk night and morning. Now, minus 15 is our overnight. Clear skies in the forecast tomorrow. A daytime high of 1 degree. But keep in mind, tomorrow morning it will feel closer to minus 24. So bundle up. Here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. The sun continuing to set on this Monday. Minus 8 is the current temperature.
Today's snow report brought to you by Centre Volage. Rediscover the new Volage.
Here's today's snow report. All of the lifts at Ski Volage are operational today. 15 of 20 runs are a go over at Camp Fortune. 4 of 7 lifts, 14 of 27 runs at Edelweiss. 4 out of 5 lifts, 23, all 23 runs are a go for skiers and snowboarders. At Mont Cascade, 5 of 6 and 20 of 21. Calabogie Peaks, 3 of 3 and 19 of 26.
Hi, I'm Andre here at Centre Volage. I invite you to come enjoy our 24 trails, including alpine touring, snowshoeing, and fat biking. Centre Volage, Wakefield's playground.
Returning to our worst commute series tonight, we're also looking at Para Transpo. Ridership is increasing in Ottawa, but some users say the service isn't keeping up. They point to long waits, limited hours, and added fees outside the transit boundary. This next story aboard Para Transpo is a round-trip journey from an address in Centertown to a business at Bank and Walkley. It's not too far by car, but an 18-minute drive each way. Using Para Transpo, the trip took around 2 hours. CTV's Caitlin Wilson tagged along.
David Humphreys is waiting for Para Transpo, a wait he's done many times before.
It says your ride should arrive in 10 minutes.
He's heading from Somerset West to Bank Street. A quick errand for a gala he's planning. The errand itself will take 10 minutes. The entire trip, roughly 2 hours.
You always have to book 24 hours ahead, but you can try and get a sit-in, but that is only if they have the vehicles. And right now they don't have all those vehicles.
Like the rest of the city's bus fleet, Para Transpo is replacing its aging vehicles as ridership climbs 3.4% year over year. To manage demand, Para Transpo uses its own buses and contracted taxis.
The buses seem to do a better job, but the cabs are very stressful because they overload them and then it's difficult.
After tracking his ride with a new app launched last year,
hello, good sir.
His 10:45 ride arrives at 10:55, technically on time.
They have a half-hour lenience. In normal terms, yes, it would be a half hour. It would be 10 minutes late. But in Para terms, they're not late for another 20 minutes.
He arrives at 11:20, and even though his errand is quick,
it's a light but dark green.
He can't be picked up until 12:15. Para Transpo requires at least 45 minutes between trips. On the ride home, there's another pickup and drop-off along the way. He's back at his door at 1 p.m.
Today was interesting. The drivers I had today were nice enough and got out of the vehicles, but 80% of the time when it's a cab, they don't get out of the vehicles.
And without 24-hour or full on-demand service, Humphrey says if something comes up last minute, he relies on ride sharing.
If I get called to an event quickly, I take Uber a lot, and that's expensive.
City data shows 93% of trips arrived within the 30-minute pickup window last year. But another rider, John Redden, says the system may be meeting its target, but the fleet hasn't kept up with demand.
Right now, we have both the old and the new fleet on together, but there's no increase in numbers. And the ones that are using it are feeling the effect.
Councillor Marty Carr says the city plans to dedicate 10 buses to on-demand service later this year and is also looking at expanding hours.
I do think that there have been a number of improvements over the last several years, but I understand that people are dissatisfied with the service often.
And if you ask Reddens for a grade?
B plus, the C minus needs improvement.
Caitlin Wilson, CTV News.
It was a frigid day in the capital, but warmer temperatures are on the way. It was minus 22 this morning, but felt more like minus 28 once you factored in that wind chill. A cold warning was in effect here in the capital, but has since been lifted, and things are set to start warming up quickly. Jackie is here with a full check on the forecast, and you're the bearer of better weather news, perhaps, at least temperature-wise. Yeah.
Good news, clear conditions. We are not going to have minus 22 by the end of the week, but we might have it for tomorrow morning. So one more brisk evening, early morning. So sorry about that, but we'll take a look
we'll
now.
Get there eventually.
We'll get there by the end of the week, I promise. Minus 8 degrees is the temperature right now. We did see a daytime high of minus 7. And if you feel like spring isn't quite there yet, take a look at when sunset is now. It is inching closer and closer to 6 o'clock. Now, taking a look at our overnight lows, temperatures hovering around minus 15, minus 18 degrees, especially around the valley here in Ottawa, minus 17 as well as in Cornwall. Clear skies, though, are in the forecast to carry us into our Tuesday. As we look towards our daytime highs, we are hovering, yes, hovering around the freezing mark. Some places even around 2 degrees, and that includes Kingston and Brockville, Cornwall, Montreal hovering around 0, Petawawa and Gatineau around 1 degree, but we are seeing lots of sunshine in store for tomorrow as well. Clear skies for our Tuesday. Tomorrow evening, though, could be a different story for parts of Kingston where there is a little bit of rain possibly moving through, but it will remain just south of Kingston and carry on towards the States, so we won't be affected here in Ottawa. Meanwhile, across the country, minus 13 in Charlottetown, Fredericton, minus 9, so still cold temperatures out east. But as we look towards Ontario here, you can see temperatures starting to warm up, especially in Thunder Bay, where right now it is 1 degree. Sudbury still around minus 7. Windsor, though, minus 2. And by the end of the week, I'm hearing that they could be closer to 20 degrees as well. So again, that warmth really coming along. Out west, though, different story. Minus 4 in Edmonton. A little bit of snowfall moving through as well in Saskatoon, about minus 12 degrees. 11 degrees, though, in Vancouver. And yes, we will likely have that by the time Saturday rolls around. But the good news is as well, no precipitation in sight for our Wednesday or our Thursday as well. Now, this 7-day forecast is brought to you by Davidson Hearing Aid Centers, celebrating over 80 years in family business. So Tuesday, increasing cloudiness, 1 degree. The overnight low for Tuesday into Wednesday will be minus 6. So yes, we're out of those minus double digits. 4 degrees the daytime high for Wednesday with lots of sunshine. Cloudy skies for our Thursday, 2 degrees the daytime high. Take a look at Saturday. Yes, Friday and Saturday we will get periods of rain and precipitation, but we'll have 10 degrees for our Saturday, and the early forecast is showing Monday is going to be 11 degrees. Stefan.
Thank you, Jackie. It appeared for a moment that spring had arrived in Ottawa over the weekend, but we were quickly reminded winter isn't done with us yet. Temperatures plunged yesterday, but the return of the cold weather was not unwelcome for everyone, particularly for those enjoying the Rideau Canal Skateway. Here's CTV's Camille Wilson.
Speed skaters John Fahey and Paul Wubin would love winter to stay.
I'm a winter person, so I think this is absolutely great. Every winter, you kind of cross your fingers and hope that the canal gets open early and stays open late.
They're taking advantage of what could be one of the last blasts of winter weather in the capital.
John's been out skiing, 70 times? I've been out skating 40.
Today's my 42nd.
After warmer weather over the weekend, temperatures plunged Sunday. Good news for skaters like Nancy and Dale Duncan, who are visiting from Toronto.
We were worried the conditions wouldn't be good enough for skating, so we really lucked out. Other times I was here, it was, the canal was closed, so this is my first time skating the whole canal in over 20 years. Yeah. So I love the cold.
Mild temperatures are in store for the rest of the week. The NCC says it is closely monitoring the forecast and will keep the skateway open as long as conditions allow.
Don't be shocked if the snow comes back.
But Environment Canada says Ottawa is likely not done with winter yet.
These are like 1 or 2, 3 days at worst, and then it kind of melts and then it warms up and then you have a little longer period and then it might come back to freeze again.
Even if the canal closes, there are other ways to embrace winter.
I realize the canal might be coming to a close fairly soon, but there's lots of snow in Gatineau Park.
And if we're not skating, we're skiing, cross-country skiing, which we've done a ton of too.
Camille Wilson, CTV News.
It doesn't just bring mining, it brings opportunities for their young people.
Coming up, the province announces an ambitious and accelerated plan to complete the construction on the Ring of Fire Road years ahead of schedule. In tonight's Big Picture, a museum has confirmed a painting owned by someone in the Netherlands is a genuine Rembrandt. Researchers in Amsterdam spent 2 years examining the painting, carrying out scans, and identifying the materials used, and have finally concluded it is a real work of art by Rembrandt. Vision of Zacharias in the temple has been privately owned since 1961, but will be on display starting Wednesday. Now, some other stories you need to know right now. The province has released a plan aimed at speeding up the construction of all seasons roads to the Ring of Fire region in Northern Ontario.
We want to accelerate the roads up there because it doesn't just bring mining, it brings opportunities for their young people.
Construction is set to begin in June, and under the new plan, the roads will begin to open in November of 2030, 5 years ahead of schedule. As part of the plan, the government also signed new economic partnerships with Martin Falls First Nation and Webekwi First Nation. Ottawa's Public School Board is projecting another multi-million-dollar deficit. A report for the board's audit committee meeting tonight shows the OCDSB is looking at an $11.5 million deficit this school year, making it the 5th straight year the board will be in the red. Staff say the deficit is partly due to declining enrollment for elementary schools. Last year, the province appointed a supervisor to oversee the board due to the financial issues. Ottawa police say a G1 driver was stopped for the 4th time in 4 months today for driving with a suspended license. The driver was caught in Barhaven this morning. The fine for driving while under suspension is up to $2,000 for a first offense. Today is the deadline to make an RRSP contribution for the 2025 tax year. Any contributions made after today will have to be claimed as deductions on a 2026 tax return. The deduction limit for 2025 is 18% of earned income up to a maximum of roughly $32,000.
British Columbia is going to change our clocks just one more time and then never again.
The BC Premier having some fun with a big announcement today. The province is moving to permanent daylight time, meaning this weekend will be the last time British Columbia residents will have to adjust their clocks. The Premier says the year-round time zone will make life easier. Daylight saving time begins Sunday when clocks will move forward by an hour.
It's not as bad as it's going to get. Let's put it that way, given the fact that the political situation in the Middle East.
Coming up, the war in Iran will drive up gas prices in Canada. We'll have more on what drivers can expect when we return.
Get the latest live local breaking news. Sign up now for our morning and evening CTV News Ottawa newsletter. The best local content from CTV News, Your Morning Ottawa, and News Talk 580 CFRA. Get it all in one place. Sign up now at ctvnewsottawa.ca. The CTV News Ottawa newsletter is brought to you in part by CAA Business.
The war in Iran is sending oil prices surging, and that is having an impact on gas prices in North America, including right here in Ottawa. But experts say the worst is yet to come. CTV's Dave Charbonneau has the details.
For Mike Kelly, filling up is already a familiar frustration, and now it's about to get worse.
It's not as bad as it's going to get. Let's put it that way, given the fact that the political situation in the Middle East.
Military strikes by the U.S. and Israel on Iran have sent shockwaves through global energy markets. The conflict disrupting operations in the Strait of Hormuz, which is where 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through.
It likely means that about 20% of the world's oil is now potentially offline.
That is driving up oil prices, and the effects are already hitting gas pumps in the U.S. and Canada.
With prices that you're seeing in Ottawa, $1.37, $1.38, look for those to increase to about $1.43, $1.44 by Wednesday, and likely $1.50 by the end of the week.
Gold prices are also rising as investors rush to safer assets.
When there's times of geopolitical instability, that drives investors to look for a safe physical place to store their assets. And the events we're seeing in Iran right now are certainly causing a short-term increase in gold price.
And if the war drags on, gold and gas prices could continue to rise.
You can't help things. Some things you just got to go with, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
At my age now, I don't go too far anyway, but so it's not as bad. But if I had to drive any distance to work every day and whatever, it would bother me a lot more.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, and then of course, now they're going to come out with the summer gas, right? So that's another thing to think about as well.
But it's something drivers can't control.
Really, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, you either buy gas or you buy an electric car.
Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
BNN Bloomberg's Lindsay Biscaya has more on how the war is impacting oil prices and the markets.
Oil surged the most in 4 years as the escalating conflict threatens oil supplies in one of the world's key producing regions. The Strait of Hormuz handles as much as 20% of the world's oil shipments. Brent futures topped $80 a barrel, and the surge leaves oil prices up about 30% so far this year. OPEC Plus has agreed to raise quotas next month by 206,000 barrels a day. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar was down to 73.13. West Texas Intermediate is up to 72.30. Western Canadian Select also up to end the day to 52.93. And the TSX is also up more than 200 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
These constant opportunities to wager and the real-time, emotional engagement involved in this can really increase impulsive decision-making.
Just ahead, it's an alarming trend in Ontario. The number of young men seeking help for gambling up more than 300% here in this province. A new study shows a dramatic rise in the number of young men seeking help for problematic online gambling. This comes after Ontario expanded the online gaming market and legalized single-event sports betting. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
We were interested in looking at changes in health harms as a result of the various policy changes that happened in Ontario.
Researcher Ryan Forrest looked at the development of Ontario's online gambling formats from a single government-run website in 2015 to legalized single-event sports betting in 2021, and then becoming the only province in Canada to open a privatized market for gambling. There are now more than 80 gaming and betting sites, with $63 billion being wagered on these sites through 2.1 million accounts in 2024. Forrest says the introduction of in-play betting, which can be done even after a game has started, has been particularly harmful.
It allows really rapid, continuous betting during sports events. And research suggests that these sort of fast betting cycles, these constant opportunities to wager, and the real-time, emotional engagement involved in this can really increase impulsive decision-making and make it harder for people to stop.
And looking at the calls for help to the province-wide mental health service, Connects Ontario, shows young males are having significantly more problems than other groups.
We saw that 350% increase in contacts specifically among young men. So almost all of the increase we saw is coming from this demographic of young men aged 15 to 44.
The legal age for online gambling in Ontario is 19, and the impact can, in some cases, become life-threatening.
At the individual level, it's financial distress, as you said, anxiety and depression, substance use problems. In severe cases, it can be increased risk of self-harm or suicide.
Harms beyond the individual include relationship breakdowns, domestic violence, and more.
Other provinces are going to be wanting to look closely at this.
She says things like stronger limits on advertising, spending limits, and making sure treatment is available and accessible are all important considerations. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
She really showed that you can be a genius and be kind, and one of those things does not have to come at the expense of the other.
Coming up, the late Catherine O'Hara receive a posthumous honor. Those details just ahead. Jackie.
Well, thanks so much, Stefan. By the end of the week, we could see multiple days hovering near the 10-degree mark. And as we begin the month of March, it has a lot of people wondering what it could mean for the Rideau Canal Skateway. March 10th was the last year's official closing for the Canal Skateway. Today, these are the conditions. Good for most of the skateway. It is all fully open, but if you are by Queen to Laurier, the conditions aren't the greatest. Soft ice, fair conditions as well. So how long will this last? Well, we are keeping a very close eye on this. Here's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. -8 degrees for downtown Ottawa. Those good conditions for skating this evening.
Tomorrow on CTV Your Morning Ottawa, it's Irish Heritage Month, and we are joined by the Irish Ambassador to Canada live on the show. Wake up the right way with Your Morning Ottawa. It all starts at 6.
Hairstyles, courtesy of Salon Fiorella.
Coming up on this channel in just a few minutes, E-Talk will start at 7, followed by The Big Bang Theory at 7:30, Extracted at 8, Memory of a Killer at 9, and The Rookie at 10. Here's a recap of the top stories we're following right now. Algonquin College's Board of Directors votes to cut another 30 programs, including business and hospitality courses, journalism, and paralegal.
We stand here in a place that was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran.
Strikes continuing on the third day of the war in Iran, with U.S. President Donald Trump saying the operation could last up to 5 weeks. 6 U.S. soldiers have been killed so far, and Iran's Red Crescent says hundreds have been killed in strikes in that country, upwards of 500.
When the worst ends, it's more like an hour and 20 or 1:30.
We're taking a look at some of Ottawa's worst commutes this week. Our special series providing a snapshot of trips across the city, including this one from Hunt Club to Gatineau. And with the final check on the weather forecast, here's Jackie.
Well, thanks so much, Stefan. We don't have a cold warning in place for this evening into tomorrow, but we are still likely going to have some chilly conditions. -24 is what it's going to feel like, starting off at -17 with the sunshine all throughout our Tuesday. The clouds will start to increase in the afternoon. The good news is we are getting to a daytime high of 1 degree. Wednesday going to be much warmer at 4 degrees and plenty more sunshine. And as we extend ourselves to Saturday, look at that, 10 degrees, the daytime high. Then we're going to spring forward into our Sunday, and by Monday, 11 degrees. So that is an early outlook for the forecast, but things are looking very spring-like.
Excellent. About time. Time now to check in to see what our news team will be working on tonight for 11:30. Austin Lee is joining us at the desk.
Thank you so much, Stefan. We will hear from some Canadians that are trying to get out of the Middle East. Flight cancellations and safety concerns are top of mind for people currently in the region, and some Canadians say that they feel like they've been left on their own. CTV's Kelly Gregg caught up with 2 Canadians that are currently in the Middle East, and they are now trying desperately to get out of that region. You can, of course, get the news anytime, anywhere at ctvnewsottawa.ca, and join me tonight for CTV News at 11:30.
Thank you, Austin. Finally for us tonight, it was a moving moment at the 32nd Actor Awards, formerly known as the SAG Awards. The late Catherine O'Hara was honored last night after winning Outstanding Performance by a female actor in a comedy series.
Show them O'Hara hurting her knee in Best in Show and doing that amazing thing where she hobbles around, and tell the people as they are laughing that that's Catherine O'Hara and we were lucky that we got to live in a world where she so generally shared her talents with us. Thank you.
Fellow Canadian Seth Rogen accepted the award on O'Hara's behalf for her role in The Studio. Catherine O'Hara died in late January at the age of 71. Many contributions. What a lovely tribute.
It was very moving as well. I mean, you saw Jenny Ortega there. She was with her at Beetlejuice, the second one. So worked with her closely. You could see all that emotion.
Yeah, she was tearing up. Yeah, and that's my favorite Christmas movie, Mom, Home Alone.
Yes.
Been a favorite, for sure.
And she was amazing in The Studio as well.
Yeah.
Like, she was absolutely incredible. So very well deserved, and it's super sad, but
and if you need a laugh, Schitt's Creek. Thanks for watching, everyone.